Good day, you amazing weebs! Today we'll be doing a top 5 anime you should watch right now so you can start collecting their merch and stuff.
Did I hear you talk about anime? And merch too?
Actually, yes. Who are you again? Why are you here, stranger?
Me? I'm Daniel from TwistedGeeks, the anime collectibles and merchandise channel. Pleasure to meet you.
Well, it's good to have you here, Dan. I'm about to make my top 5 anime that they should watch. Hey, let's hear your list, dude.
Thank you, Finn. And as Finn was saying, top anime, and this is a very difficult decision. There's so many different animes out there. But before we get to the top 5, I do believe there's a few honourable mentions that have to be made. And some might surprise you that they're not in the top 5. My Hero Academia, as you'll see from my other videos, I'm a huge fan. Got lots of the pop vinyls, starting to get some of the figures in as well. And I do really enjoy the series. But like the rest of these things as honourable mentions, they could have made the top 5, but they just missed the mark for us. Golden Boy, now there's an anime. Funny as hell. I couldn't help but laugh all the way through it. But at the same time, it is completely nuts. It stars a character called Kentaro Oe. He is essentially like a freeloader. He has finished university, he is quite a smart guy, and he travels around the country getting little jobs here and there and studying. He loves to study and he loves learning new things. But as he gets jobs at, say, like a noodle house, for example, and he learns the way of how to make noodles, he always starts at the bottom. And where do you start at the bottom? Cleaning. And as he cleans, and in everyone, like standard animes, there's always the hot girl. And in this case, when he cleans, and especially when he gets to the toilets, he obsesses over them. This is where his pervert comes out, and he sees the toilet as his lady's throne, and he goes nuts. He licks it, he lies on it, he cuddles it, he strokes it, and 9 out of 10 he gets caught. But it is a comedy and it is absolutely hilarious, and it's one of them few ones that, to me, the English dub, especially for Kentaro himself, is absolutely amazing. Others include the classics like Evangelion, Hunter x Hunter, D. Greyman, Read or Die, Attack on Titan, like even more newer ones like Demon Slayer, which I love Demon Slayer. I think that could get right up there, but with one season so far, we need to see how it's going to progress to see if it's actually going to turn into that amazing overall series. At number 5 is Sword Art Online. Now, Sword Art Online is like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. And I do see the flaws in this anime, but for me personally, I absolutely love it. Starring the main protagonist, you'll later find out his name is Kirito. This is a game based in a fully immersive online world, VR world. Through science, they created this headset thing called the Nerve Gear, and the Nerve Gear allows people to fully interact with a virtual world. They kind of go into like a sleepy coma when it's all just kind of played through their head. But when they get into there, there's 10,000 players, including Kirito himself, who get a chance to play this brand new game, which is called Sword Art Online, in a world called Ankrad. When they get there though, they get all summoned to the start main area, so all 10,000 people get put there, and a big person appears in the sky, and they find out it is the creator, Akiko Kayaba, and he tells them that there is no logout button. So of course everyone checks, and they can't log out. He tells them the only way that they can get out of the game is by beating the dungeon, all 100 levels of it. And in beta format, which Kirito was one of the beta players and got the furthest, they only made it to the 10th floor, I believe it was. So 100 floors is a lot to get through. And not only that, there is a catch. If they die in-game, he tells them that they are going to die in real life. So of course, everyone panics, and this is their journey, well, Kirito's journey and his friends on the way that he makes. Though he is a solo player mainly, and that comes across a lot, he does actually integrate and become friends with other people, and this is their journey, and the rest of the people that get out of the game. At the number 4 slot is Fullmetal Alchemist. Brotherhood or the original, I don't personally mind. Even though Brotherhood is one of the more popular ones, I do like the differences between both of them and the way they explain things slightly differently. In this world, you follow 2 characters, Alphonse Elric and his brother Edward Elric. It's a world run by military rule, and their magic system, I guess you could say, is based on science, which is alchemy. But it is kind of like a magic-ish system in it. And the way alchemy works is equivalent exchange. One object being turned into something else, and so forth. So the same mass to produce whatever it is it's going to be. At the very beginning, you do find out that unfortunately their mother dies. And not fully knowing alchemy, but knowing that the father studied it, they get the books, they read up, they learn as much as they possibly can, figure it all out, and yeah, they stupidly try to bring their mother back to life. They didn't really understand the equivalent exchange properly, and during this process, Alphonse unfortunately gets taken, his full body gets taken away. During this, Edward quickly thinks out and manages to lock his soul into a big armor which is in that same room. But at the same time doing this, Edward also loses his arm and his leg. Did they bring his mother back? Well, you probably know the answer to that straight away anyway. At the number 3 slot is Elephant Lied. Elephant Lied is completely different to the previous 4 and 5 slots, as well as the honourable mentions. This stars a character called Lucy, she's a special breed of humans known as the Clonius. They have this tiny little horns and invisible telekinetic hands. She is trapped in a building as she is getting experimented on and tortured, and one day she manages to see a way to escape, and she gets out and unleashes complete gruesomeness on everyone. She goes out, slaughters everyone in a massive bloodbath in order to get out. During this, as she gets out, she does take a fatal head wound, which gives her split personalities. She ends up turning into this timid little girl who can't kind of really speak or understand things properly, but still, you know that murderous intent is still sitting there in the background. A couple of students find her and take her in, but didn't know that she is a fugitive. Now this is the story of the scientists and governments coming after her in order to take her back. And there is, of course, more of these Diclonius, special breed humans about, which, well, I'm sorry to guess, I'm sorry you're going to have to face and fight. But this series is gruesome in compared to the rest of it. This is a horror series, and there is blood, gore, there is slight nudity, but not too much into it. And I really do like this series. I've watched it many times. It's even on stuff like Netflix and that now. It's a great series. It's not a very long series, but it is definitely worth the watch. If you like your horror anime, this is a bit of an older anime. Give it a try out. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. At the number 2 slot, we have Bleach. Yes, one of the big 3 animes. One of them, I believe, did have to make it in, and I think most of them do make it in somewhere on people's top 10 list. For me, Bleach is the one that makes it at the number 2 slot. I watched Bleach when it first came out, and I watched it from the start, from the beginning, waiting eagerly every single week for a new episode to come out, over a span of about 7 years or so. Watching it this way, stuff like the filler episodes didn't bother us as much, because most shonen animes, which this is, does tend to have a lot of filler episodes and different arcs that go through it. So you have your main story arc, you might have like a filler arc, which to me the filler arc isn't too bad in this. And though a lot of people don't like the Bount arc, so if you look into the Bount arc, some people just skip right past that. But I do really like the series, and it brings a lot of nostalgia back to us. It stars a character called Ichigo Kurosaki, and from a young age he has been able to see ghosts. He normally just interacts with them, helps them out if people are kind of like little memorials being left and flowers being left, if people are kicking them over, he will fight back and try and make them feel a little bit better about themselves when because they're just ghosts hanging around, they don't know what to do. One night he wakes up to a woman coming through his window, and she completely ignores him. He tries to interact with her, she doesn't interact back, until eventually she realizes that he can see her, which she's not meant to be able to, and she is out hunting these hollows. Hollows are malicious, with murderous intent spirits, soul-eating spirits who've either been turned into hollows, or when they've died, they have kind of went with negative feelings and then turned into hollows, and these feelings take over them and they lose all their humanity altogether. in doing so, Ichigo for the first time does start to see these things, and he starts to get worried because his sisters and his family is in the house, and he tries to go and help. Rukia finds him, and he cannot move. As she goes on to fight the Hollow, Ichigo goes storming down the stairs, though he can't move his hands, but eventually manages to break out, which that's when she starts paying a little more attention to him. From there, she goes on to fight the Hollow, but unfortunately gets injured. Now Ichigo is there with this massive Hollow, ready to attack his family and eat the souls of his family. So in doing so, him and Rukia make a pact, and he takes her powers and he becomes a Shinigami. Rukia is a Shinigami who goes out and fights these Hollows. Sorry, I didn't put that in the beginning. I mentioned it was Rukia, but I didn't say that she was a Shinigami. And Ichigo takes her powers to slay the Hollow. The series is then Ichigo learning and developing his powers, and the interaction between him and Rukia, because this is something that Rukia shouldn't have done. So then she stays in his world rather than the soul world. So this is the interaction between Ichigo and his friends, and they go to a place called Soul Society, where they go and help to save Rukia. So it's finally here, my number 1 spot. And in number 1 spot is Fullmetal Panic, the second raid. And yes, it is the second series. The series itself isn't anything without the first series, but for me, the second series is where more of the character development happens, especially with Sakura Sosuke, and there is some hard-hitting moments in it, especially watching the first series first, and it does get you in places, and I absolutely adore it. This is a military mech anime, and it starring the main character, Sakura Sosuke, and he is a dog of war. From a very young age, he's lived in a war-torn country, and war is all he's known. So he began kind of like a guerrilla troop, and then up around as he developed and went through the war-torn countries, became very adept and unique at, for example, running the mechs and fighting and shooting and all this. And then eventually he became part of an elite anti-terrorist group called Mithril. He is 17 when you start watching the series, and one of the missions he gets given is to protect a girl called Kanami Chidori. She is a high school student, so he's got to go in, interact, and become one of the students. But since he's lived in this war-torn world all his life, he's completely inept to the outside world. He has no clue. He definitely still has some, like, not really PTSD, but you kind of think he did in the way he reacts to things. Everything is, he's any noise, for example, he thinks it's a gunshot and he tries to protect Chidori, because that's his job, to make sure she is safe. She is rumoured to be one of these people called the Whispered, and the Whispered are people who have, like, I guess, like, technology built into the head, which they don't really know about. And it's where people can get access to it. That's how stuff like the mechs in this series were actually made. So all the advanced technology that came about was normally made by people called the Whispered, who just accessed these memories somehow. It does explain a little bit more in the series, but the series was out in 90s, early 2000, maybe 2002-ish or something around that. So it has been out for quite some time. So that's my top 5 anime of all time. Please go over to my channel, TwistedGeek, and check out Finn's top 5 anime. Thank you very much for having us, Finn. Here, have this fish. And I will speak to you later. Cheers.
Dan. This is a small fish! Will it kill you to give me a bigger one? Ah, soka. That is excellent, dude. I'll be sure to add this to my ever-growing list of anime that I should watch. Yari does it.
Hey, did you just do a JoJo reference?
Ho ho, so you know that reference, huh? Well, that's all for now, my fellow weebs. But Finn, you said you're doing your top 5 anime, you liar! Don't worry, I'm still doing my top 5 on Dan's channel. Make sure to visit Dan's channel at TwistedGeek. He does some awesome anime related content and merch reviews. Seriously, this guy's collection is insane. Might rob his collection someday. I'm just joking. Don't call the police. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next video. Finn out.